Welcome to Andres. My name is Chef Gary Lamort, and today we're going to begin to explore advanced techniques in rabbit fabrication. Here we have a spring rabbit. We purchase ours from Iowa. We fly them in twice a week. It's very important when doing anything with rabbits that they're very, very fresh, never frozen. Rabbit meat is very delicate and retains moisture only when very fresh. We're going to start by removing the liver, kidneys, and heart. These can be utilized by curing and confit in duck fat is a personal favorite of mine. Today our preparation is not going to involve that though. I find it's important anytime we're going to disjoint an animal that we actually stretch the joints out a little bit, loosen them up. We're going to start by opening up the chest cavity. If we were going to fabricate a rack, at this point I've already cleaned the bones in a nice uniform manner. Rabbits have a very unique bone structure. Their shoulders have no ball joint, so very easy to remove. The forelegs we're going to clean, debone, and grind for our mousseline. If we pinch right here along the hip, it'll tell us where to make our incisions for removal of the legs. The legs we're going to utilize later on for braising and stuffing into our cannelloni. And here we have a full saddle. We're going to start next by scoring in along the spine. Rabbits are very unique in the fact that they have a three-tiered spinal column. And you can look right in here and you can see the second row of bones running along each side of the spine. So now that we've opened that up, I'm going to take my knife, very gently score down along the inside of the spine, and now down along the rib cage. Here we have our rabbit loin. We're going to leave the belly meat attached, because later on we're going to use it to actually wrap one of our stuffings. I am, however, going to trim the loin down, removing any excess silver skin. This end of the loin will actually go back in later on during the stuffing process. Now that we've broken the rabbit down into its major body parts, we're basically defining the different cooking techniques due to the body part. Step one is going to be utilizing the bones for sauce. Breaking the bones down into very small parts. The legs themselves, I pop the hip joints with my hands, and then we score just ever so slightly to allow even cooking during the braising process along the bone. So after deboning the front rabbit legs, we've run them through the fine die of a meat grinder 3 times. It's a very sinew-laden area of the body. We're now going to take this fine ground rabbit forelegs, approximately 1 pound. We're going to add it into our robaku. A little seasoning, salt and white pepper. It's very important throughout this process that we keep the meat very cold. It's been on ice the entire time we are grinding and working with it. Being chilled is going to help facilitate making a proper emulsion. Obviously we're going to stir frequently. We're looking for the meat to start making a very fine paste. I'm going to add 1 whole egg. Now that the egg is fully mixed, we're going to slowly start to incorporate our heavy cream. Like any emulsification, it's important that we start very slow. The reason we make a mousseline with the rabbit, naturally the meat is very lean. So in this manner, we're increasing the fat content. So now we can see the rabbit meat has achieved an almost smooth, glossy appearance. Still very cold, tacky to the touch, and extremely soft. Now we're going to split the mixture, approximately 75-25. So here we have our small diced sweated vegetables, which is the first garnish for the stuffing of our rabbit. These have been slowly cooked in a little clarified duck fat. 1 tablespoon of picked thyme leaves. A little salt and white pepper. Now this stuffing is ready for the inside of our rabbit. Secondly, we're moving on to our herb mousseline, getting seasoning, and next the addition of our chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is a great way to add color without adding moisture to your mixtures. Any type of force meat is always a very special balance between protein, fat, and water content. So in this manner, we're able to achieve a very bright and inviting color without adding any moisture to our mousseline. It does not, however, carry a tremendous amount of flavor, so we are also going to add freshly chopped herbs as well. We use a fine herb mixture of chervil, tarragon, parsley, and chives. Next step is the stuffing of the loin itself. As you can see, we reserved the belly flap. Not naturally a very tender piece of meat. So what we're going to do is actually tenderize this with the meat mallet. Insert the reserved end of the loin. We'll now pipe in our stuffing to use a small spatula to work it in. Now I know what you're thinking. Chef, you haven't seasoned the rabbit. I actually do that very intentionally. Drawing any excess moisture out of the rabbit at this point will prevent the mousseline from binding. So by using a very flavorful stuffing on the interior and exterior, we actually avoid the need. Here I'm just trimming off a little bit of the extra belly. Secondly, we're going to take our herb mousseline, which is going to be the exterior, pipe a thin layer onto a piece of plastic wrap. I stuck to the table using a very damp cloth. Will help the plastic adhere. There you have it. So here we have our immersion circulator and our hot water bath. We're going to use this to poach the rabbit for approximately 2.5 hours at 58 degrees Celsius. This will be enough to set the protein, yet not overcook it. And why we use sous vide is because it enables us to capture the rich yet delicate nature of the rabbit loin. It'll be cooked through perfectly, with 0% moisture loss. And also by wrapping it in the mousseline, we're protecting the loin itself from any high heat, and I think we're going to naturally capitalize on the buttery richness of a perfectly poached rabbit loin. So now our braise is completed. We removed it from the oven. We're going to reserve the meat. As you can see, very tender. Now all the remaining liquid and aromatics are going to run through a fine chinois. And with a very small amount of reduction, this is going to be our sauce. Very important with any braised meat product that after the meat is done cooking, we let it chill overnight in its own juices to actually reabsorb the moisture content and the flavor. So we've reheated this rabbit up now to make it easy to pick. We're very gently going to go through and make sure there's no little pieces of bones or they have very small knee joints you have to watch out for. We want to maintain the integrity of the meat, so we're not shredding it. Now we've picked the rabbit meat, and we're going to add in the rest of our garnishes, starting first with our roast maitake mushrooms, lightly pickled bell pepper, manzanilla olives. It's a sweet fruity olive from Spain, and a chiffonade fresh basil. So now we gently fold the ingredients until fully incorporated and chill. Next, the fresh pasta. I'm assuming if you've made it this far already, you know how to make fresh pasta. For this application, we're using a very simple basic pasta dough. It's very important not to incorporate too much extra flour during the rolling process. All machines have different thicknesses compared to their numbers. I like to roll it down very thin. Let it rest for 5 minutes, and you'll see the dough will actually shrink and re-thicken up again. Here we have our rolled and rested pasta. Our next step is to take approximately 2 ounces of our pre-made stuffing. When cold, you can actually form it into tight little compact pieces. This is going to facilitate shaping your pasta later on. We don't actually use egg at all to glue the pasta together. What I do is I actually take the brush. We're going to brush it back and forth on the pasta until we see a white sheen form on top. And what we're doing is we're actually waking up and reactivating the gluten in the pasta. This is going to allow us to form one piece of pasta versus two pieces of pasta glued together. And all we need to do is crimp our ends and remove the excess pasta. So here we have our finished cannelloni. We're going to blanch it for approximately 5 minutes in boiling water with sea salt. Here we have our blanched and chilled cannelloni pastas. Just going to apply a standard breading procedure, very light flouring, egg, and lastly, finely processed panko breadcrumbs. This is going to allow us to achieve a nice crispy texture on the outside of the cannelloni, which will be a nice contrast to the rabbit torchon. So we've now submerged our rabbit cannelloni in the oil. Cannelloni has achieved a nice uniform brown color. It's obviously very crispy and hot, ready to go. Bring the rabbit torchon back up to service temperature, and we're going to do this by submerging it in simmering water. Our next step is getting ready to finish the plate. We're going to start by making our glaze for the carrots. We're adding in whole butter. Secret technique is a gentle browning on the butter for added flavor development. This process will take about 2.5 minutes. The sous vide aspect of cooking the rabbit loin is enough to set the proteins, but not enough to cook the mousseline all the way through. So at service, we actually bring it up to a higher temp than we sous vide it, causing the mousseline to inflate and improves the texture greatly. We're going to add in our champagne vinegar, wildflower honey, and lastly, the chicken stock. We've taken a small amount of the glaze out of the pan, inserted carrots for one order, and we're gently going to reduce that glaze down slowly on the carrots with an ultimate goal of achieving a tender, perfect doneness and simultaneously perfect reduction of the quantity of glaze. So now that we've heated the rabbit, fried the cannelloni, glazed the carrots, and reduced our jus, we're ready to plate. As you can see, our rabbit loin, stuffing, and herb mousseline around the outside, all perfectly bound. So there you have our spring rabbit with wild mushroom cannelloni, glazed thumbelina carrots, and natural jus. I'm Chef Gary Lamort. Thank you very much for joining us at Andre's. See you next time on thefoodinquirer.com.